Welcome back to the Tempo Storm deck introduction series featuring Odd Rogue, a new breed of aggro deck that was born from the Witchwood expansion. In the days of Justicar, upgrading the rogue hero power to poison daggers wasn't a strong mid-game option, but Baku the Moon Eater has made it available in the early game to push more damage, or secure good trades against cheap minions with your weapon. As a tempo deck with great damage potential, Odd Rogue made strong impressions on the ladder in this first season of the Raven. Let's break down the deck and see how it works in the current meta. Odd Rogue acts as a typical aggro deck in every aspect, aside from the omission of even-costed cards, most notably Shadow Step, Backstab, and Elven Minstrel. The deck compensates for this by using a large amount of 1-drops to contest the board early, and most of them have durable bodies to ensure we can stick our buffs later in the game. Argent Squire and Dire Mole can usually trade with one or more minions when paired with our dagger. Firefly also has a decent stat line and additionally offers us a second minion for combo activators and to help fight for board in aggressive matchups. Glacial Shard is poorly statted for control matchups but is essential to our plan against aggro. By stopping their minion from attacking, we essentially force them into making suboptimal trades. Our last 1-drop is Southsea Deckhand, which can be used in several different ways. We can play it on turn 1 for tempo, use it to make good trades, or use it as a burst finisher. Cold Blood has great versatility in this deck as it can be used to enable better trades or to push a large amount of damage to face. Deadly Poison will sometimes be used for finishing damage but will mostly be used to buff up our weapon for favorable trades. Sinister Strike is used as finishing damage to bypass taunts but also provides another means of activating our combos for cheap. The card isn't strong enough to justify running 2, but 1 can typically give us another means of closing out games. Fan of Knives acts as one of our only cycling cards and gives us a better matchup versus any Paladin deck. Henchclan Thug is a 3-drop minion that is extremely powerful in most situations. Due to the deck's lack of even cost cards, most turn 2s will be spent equipping a dagger, leaving this card to almost always be lined up for receiving a buff on the turn it's played. Ironbeak Owl is an odd-costed silence, which is absolutely needed in any Warlock meta due to the onslaught of Voidlords. Like Fan of Knives, Kobold Apprentice is a worthwhile addition for clearing Paladin's recruits, but can also build up more damage on an empty board. The card is also just as decent as snowballing a board in your favor and gives your Odd Rogue just the right touch of RNG any good Hearthstone deck needs to be a top-tier deck. SI7 Agent is a staple rogue card that allows us to use its battle cry to help fight for board, or sometimes even push damage. Wolf Rider is similar to Sinister Strike in the sense that it's used almost purely as damage, but Wolf Rider has the added benefit of leaving a body on board that requires an answer to it. Leroy Jenkins is the deck's finisher, giving our strategy a reliably large amount of burst damage to close out games. Vilespine Slayer helps us use our leftover 1-drops to dispose of taunt minions and other serious board threats, leaving behind a huge tempo swing while paving the way for our cheaper minions to chip away at our opponent's life total. Finally, Baku the Moon Eater is played for its effect of buffing our hero power. The reason why Odd Rogue is so powerful is that the deck has the ability to snowball the board out of your opponent's control very aggressively, while also having the option to accumulate great amounts of damage in the early game. We can efficiently pivot from a tempo strategy to an aggro one with our combination of cheap minions, damage spells, and removal options. Our Poison Dagger's hero power reflects the success of this build's versatility, representing 4 damage split across 2 turns for 2 mana, wherever our hero can hit. Against faster, aggressive decks, you'll want to keep your 1-drops such as Argent Squire or Dire Mole, as these minions have great staying power that make them ideal for efficient trades. Against Paladin specifically, you'll want to keep Fan of Knives or Kobold Apprentice, as they'll make quick work of their hero power or minion summoned by Call to Arms. On coin, you should look to keep SI7 Agent in these matchups. In the crucial first turns of these matchups, you'll need to rely on these early board swings to retake control of the game. In slower matchups such as Warlock, look to keep cards like Cold Blood in conjunction with a 1-drop such as Firefly. A lot of players undervalue the amount of damage a turn 2 Cold Blood can provide, and how hard it is to kill a buffed up minion on turn 2. By playing Firefly, Argent Squire, or even Dire Mole on the first turn and then following it up with a second 1-drop in Cold Blood, your opponent is forced to find an immediate answer or they risk losing the game immediately. While Warlocks have access to play Kobold Librarian and Defile for 3 mana in response, rarely will they anticipate this play by saving a Librarian. Just be sure to deny Defile value where possible, as you never want to give your opponent a free board wipe. Another valuable card in slower matchups is Henge Clan Thug, as this card can very quickly snowball out of control, making it a high priority target for your slower opponents. If you're not running into that many paladins because of Control Warlock, but are facing other aggro decks as a response to the meta shift, you can consider removing Kobold Apprentice and Fan of Knives for cards such as Tar Creeper, as they will do better against decks that rely on early minions, such as Secret Mage or the odd Rogue Mirror. If you happen to face more slower decks such as Warlock and Control Warrior, consider cutting Kobold Apprentice and Fan of Knives for cards that snowball even faster, such as Vicious Fledgling or Funkelmancer. Despite what the even and odd deck builds have done for other classes, Rogue was surprisingly one class that benefited the most from Baku the Moon Eater. With the sheer strength of the hero power, Odd Rogue has the tools it needs to earn the title of second best deck in Tier 2 of our most recent Meta Snapshot. Being one of the cheaper high performers of the standard meta, Odd Rogue will be around for a while, and we'll see if it ends up being a defining meta deck in later weeks. For now, as always, make sure to comment if you have any decks you'd like to see us cover in our next installment of the Deck Introduction series. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of Odd Rogue, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on Tempo Storm's news and Hearthstone content.